Hello? Hopefully nothing wrong technically will happen this time, but we can double check. Just one sec. Setting everything up. Da-da-da. Ba-ba-ba-ba. I know, such an interesting looking start. I just want to make sure everything's working, you know? Yo, can you hear me? Is the picture good? Like, is there any skips? Or am I silent? Excellent, excellent. So there. Okay, okay, okay. Cool. Okay, so I'm gonna run uh, as if it's working. And if there's any problems, you guys can just tell me, okay? So anyway, let me just kind of just sort out what's going to be happening. So for the next hour or so, I'm going to be here streaming. Um, Mostly, it's going to be about a certain topic. In particular, it's actually going to be about Lone Wolf and Cub because I finished it recently, and I just kind of wanted to, give it a bit of a spotlight and kind of give my thoughts on it a bit. No spoilers, obviously. While that's happening, you guys can be, giving out comments and all that, asking questions. And for about the second half of this stream, I'll be answering some questions. So that's kind of my plan. Lone Wolf will go up first, and then kind of a Q&A session afterwards. So hope that sounds good to you guys. But let's get started. So let's start off with the fact that I've been reading Lone Wolf and Cub for quite a while now. One of my first reviews on this channel is actually Lone Wolf and Cub. It might be my most popular review, actually. I think it's got like over 5,000 views or something. And it's funny, I was trying to watch it the other day because I was just curious about what my thoughts were, and I found myself so painfully boring watching it. There were so many pauses, there were so many moments that I felt like I could have edited out, and moments that I could have enunciated better, etc., etc. I thought it was terrible. But anyway, my point was I did kind of just get my thoughts on what I thought back then. And my thoughts back then, interestingly, was kind of a. I was a bit of a mixed reception. Even though I'm very positive in general in that review, I remember having questioning Lone Wolf and Cub a bit. I remember thinking to myself, is this really the masterpiece that everyone was talking about? Because I read the first omnibus, I thought, there was a bit of there were some good stories, there's some good art, but it wasn't what I was expecting. I was expecting something more serialized, whereas what I got was more episodic serial. But as time went on, and I continued to pick up the omnibuses, I slowly found myself being grabbed by this world of carnage. For one, obviously, it's a terrible time in Japan. I think it's meant to be about the 1700s, maybe 1600s. There's guns in it, so it's certainly not pre. It's not pre-Portuguese arriving in Japan. It's clearly afterwards. Um, but it's a terrible time. There's so much war, so much corruption, and we see. this journey of this man and his child, and it's really empowering in many senses. It does take a while to get good. That's something I will definitely say. But overall, this is absolutely amazing. Um, I'm not sure how many of you guys are familiar with the story. I guess I can just quickly run over the kind of summary of it. Basically, the lead character is Ogami Ito, and he has a son Daigoro, and basically they're journeying about. He was formerly the executioner, the head executioner for the shogun, but because of the Yagyu clan, he got implicated in something, and now he's on the run. But he's planning to get revenge, in particular because of what happened to him and his wife and his child. Um, and it starts out like that, and quite early on, it is pretty episodic serial. And as time goes on, it gets progressively more and more serialized to the point where the later, I'd say, volumes 8 and onwards, it's like full on serialization. Like there's hardly any episodic stories, which is great. Um, but there is something appealing about the kind of the journey aspect of it early on as well. I don't know. What I can say is that I remember being surprised at the beginning, but now I can say that I absolutely adore it. It's funny. I got this. I brought down this omnibus because I kind of wanted to bring something visual to this rather than my mug. But something that kind of amazed me. I only finished reading the 12th omnibus the other day. Literally, I think it might have been Monday or Sunday or one of those days. So I brought this down just to kind of show it off, and it's amazing to me how much the art has actually changed since the beginning. Like I haven't looked at this since I think I read this in my one of my manga marathons. I can't remember exactly which one was the first or the second. It was one of those. But the artwork has really changed. I don't know how much quality this camera is showing. It could be crappy quality for all I know. But if you want to take a look, this is the kind of art style of it, which, I mean, it's very nice. I've always described it as a kind of a mixture between like Japanese painting and manga. It's definitely more of a kind of realistic style than many other manga series, and I think it's very appealing, but it's also more stylish. I mean, that's the thing I should always point out to people, that a lot of people look at this artwork and go, you know, this is realism. But that isn't necessarily the case. There's so many stylistic. It's beginning more kicky. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. God, I just had a brain fart there. I can't honestly can't remember what I was talking about. What was I talking about? I've forgotten. Anyway, okay. So to go back to Lone for Cub, um, the God, sorry, I apologize for my sudden pause. It just, for some reason, my brain has completely switched off. This is embarrassing as hell. Um, oh yeah. The art and the realism. Yeah. So yeah, it's more realistic looking than I'd say a lot of other manga series, but um, there is definitely a lot of stylization to it. A lot of moments where characters can go a bit off model, or you know, just like always those when the characters are moving, like there's kind of blurring, which adds a lot more style to it. And I always think, to me, if you're going to do art, particularly in something like manga or something, I always think style is better than realism. I mean, if I'm looking for realism, I just should go to some Western comics, because unfortunately that seems to be the move that the Western comics are moving towards. They're trying to make things more realistic looking. Which I think is a shame, because if you're going to draw something that's artistic, it should be stylized. It should look something different to what you would see in real life. That's just my personal thoughts. But I think Goseki Kojima, I just have to recall that, yeah, I'm certain that was the art. He is a fantastic artist, absolutely amazing. It's a shame that he's no longer with us, but he did fantastic artwork in this and in Samurai Executioner, which I've also read. I'm hoping, I don't know if it'll happen, that Dark Horse will do maybe omnibuses of Pat of the Assassin, because I'd love to read that. I can't think off the top of my head if Goseki Kojima was involved in any other series. Um, Mainly Pata the Assassin is the kind of one that strings into mind. Hopefully they will do it at some point. But yeah, um, Lone Wolf and Cub as well. I just want to say I remember like every order, because I'd order on bulk. I try to get an omnibus of it at least, and I have to say one of the most interesting developments throughout this whole series. I don't know. Yeah, I was about to bring up Daigoro. It's amazing how much of a character Daigoro becomes. Like as he starts off, he's mostly there to kind of catch people off guard, as well as just being protected by his father in general. But by the end of the series, he has become a full-fledged character. He has his own motivations. He has his own personality. He hardly says anything, but he's become such a fantastic character. Really makes me much more excited to read new Lone Wolf and Cub, because obviously that's his story. That's Daigoro's story after the events of Lone Wolf and Cub. So I'm even more excited to read that now. I'm not sure when I'll get my hands on it, um, because I have quite a backlog of manga to read. But I definitely do intend to pick up New Lone Wolf Cub at some point. I believe the whole thing's out in English now, which is amazing. I wonder if if Dark Horse saw like a sales spike for like the first few volumes of New Lone Wolf and Cub once they put out the last omnibus. If like people who had finished the omnibus series is like, great, I've read it, now I can move on to New Lone Wolf and Cub, or had people like been buying New Lone Wolf and Cub as things came out, waiting to read them until after the last omnibus come out. I don't know, but I'm excited about it. Speaking of which, actually, that just reminds me the ending. Obviously, I'm not going to say what the ending is, but I had read the blurb to New Lone Wolf and Cub, and my God, that was the most stupid thing I'd ever done, because obviously I hadn't finished reading new first like I hadn't finished reading Lone Wolf and Cub. Uh and obviously if I'm going to read the blurb of a sequel, obviously it's going to give spoilers. So I heard about the ending, I heard about how it ended, which was a shame, but it's amazing. As I was going up to the end of the last omnibus, I it really turned out differently than I expected. Like, even though I knew kind of like what state Daigoro would be by New Lone Wolf and Cub, there were still so many surprises at the end of the series. It's a testament to how well written this is, that even knowing the ending, it's still as gripping as not knowing the ending. It's fantastic. Um, yeah, the ending definitely, it took me a moment to get used to. I do personally like it now. I think it's a very good ending, but I remember like just having finished the omnibus. I remember like sitting in that seat. I just closed the book, and I sat there thinking to myself, "Huh." And I kind of had to process the ending for a while. Um, it's definitely one of those endings that you either like or you hate. Um, I personally like it. Um, I think it's a fine ending to the whole series. But I completely understand if it's because of the fact that if you guys don't like it, that's perfectly fine. I understand that completely. I can get where you're coming from. The TGE style of the art. Excuse me, I'm not familiar. TGE, what that's short for. But anyway, so overall, I was left pretty satisfied with the series as a whole. Um, oh, the style of the art. I'm fine with the events. Oh, are you talking about how the art changed slightly in the last omnibus? Yeah, that's something that I took note of as well. It became slightly less detailed, but kind of more movie and more dynamic. I mean, it's definitely a way to do it. Um, I mean, understandably, some people have issues when things like that happen. We all know that picture of Pain fighting Naruto, where he's completely off model, and obviously in manga it's still images, so they can't go quite that extreme in one panel. But I think it personally worked well. for the style of the last omnibus. Obviously, there are people who would have issues with that, but I'm personally fine with that. Um, just to say as well that when I rated it on Mal recently, I was really surprised to see that I'd only rated it up to that point an 8, which was very surprising. I mean, I'm fairly sure ranked Lone Wolf and Cub as my second favorite seinen in my top 10 seinen video. So it surprised me. I bumped up to a 9 because I finally finished it. I liked the ending, and it all works for me. It's not a full-on 10, I will admit, and the reason for that, the reason that it's not a full-on 10, is because, as with any episodic series, in particular the first half of this series, there are some stories that aren't particularly exceptional. I wouldn't say any story ever like offended me. There was no story that I never liked. Um, but well, when I say never liked, that I didn't hate any story, but there were like some mediocre stories, some stories that I kind of went, that was all right, but it wasn't great. And of course, we need to keep in mind the fact that I think a lot of people will, if they pick up the first omnibus, they will be surprised at how it's formatted. Um, would you say that it is a favorite? Yeah, definitely. Lone Wolf and Cub is definitely one of my favorites. It's as I said, it's I would rank it now as my second favorite seinen of all time, behind Ayako. It's a fantastic series. It's got such a breadth of story to it. And even though much of the character development is very subtle, in particular because, first of all, there aren't that many recurring characters in this series. There's Ogami, obviously. There's Daigoro. There's Retsudo. And there's Abe. And even though like their character developments are very subtle, like they are actually brilliantly handled, I personally think. In particular, like the interactions between them, because with such a relatively small cast of consistent characters, you think it would be very difficult to actually have them fully developed, but they're definitely very well developed. I'm very impressed. I mean, I think Kazuo Koike is the one who said he set up kind of a Kikiga school of learning or something like that. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe a program. He set up some kind of Kikiga thing. It might actually say in his bibliography, not his bibliography. What I'm saying, his biography at the back. Yeah, Gekiga Sonjuku. Um, and one of his main rules was that main character is key. If you're not interested in the main character, then there's no point to creating a story about it. Sup, Kaka? Um, and I mean, it really does make you think because I was only watching. I don't know if you guys know him. There's a YouTuber called Jesse Cox, and he does a kind of a Fan Friday thing. And one of them was that was it Senran Kagura, that kind of cooking thing. That's all like fan service. I was laughing at Jesse's reaction to it, but one of the characters actually makes the reference that the main character is always uninteresting, which is true in those kind of harem shows or fan service shows. The main character is always very poor. In fact, most of the characters are generally very poor. But it's amazing then to think how popular they are in comparison to the essential teaching of Kazuo Koike, who said that main character is key, that you have to be interested in the main character. It's interesting. It's just something that I kind of had to think about a bit. I don't know. But it's a shame that we don't see more manga series like Lone Wolf and Cub. If anything, Lone Wolf and Cub was probably more influential in Western comics than it was in the manga industry, despite how popular it is. Um, I want to get the live action movies. Yeah, self-insert. Yeah. Ugh. You can get my opinion on that from ugh. Yeah. I get that. I get that. But again, brain fart. What am I thinking about now? What was I thinking about? I just keep losing track of what I'm talking about. I don't know. How are you, man? I was so busy lately that my love for manga fell on a second plan. Yeah, actually, that's true. I'll talk more about that in the second half of this. But for I kind of had a similar-ish thing happen recently. But anyway, I'll get back to that in the second half of this. Um, but I don't know. It's kind of a shame that there isn't more series like Lone Wolf and Cub in the manga industry. Maybe maybe there might be in the future. I don't know. It depends on like the opinion, the likes and dislikes of the audience. I guess that's all you can say about that. I want to check out the live action movies as well. Um, the I'm not sure who they are in the UK, but some film distributor has picked up the live action Lone Wolf and Cub movies on Blu-ray, and they're running a little contest. You know, retweet the tweet and you and follow them, of course, and you might win the whole thing on Blu-ray, which is fantastic. I've been holding off on the live action movies in case there's any spoilers for the manga. There probably wouldn't have been. I think they finished well before the manga actually finished, but just in case. Depends on what you mean with manga like Lone Wolf and Cub. Um, there's something that I've always thought about. I remember doing a live stream before, and someone asked me, you know, what video game would I like to see turned into an anime, and I went with Dark Chronicles because I thought that's very anime-ish, etc., etc. And they said Witcher 3, and I kind of had to stop. Yoshik. Um, good God. But anyway, what what I was thinking about when they recommended Witcher 3 as an anime was that I was thinking that's more of an 80s kind of thing. You know, the stoic, heroic protagonist. Well, heroic in many senses. I guess maybe a bit of an anti hero in many other ways. Kind of wandering from place to place. In the case of The Witcher, in the case of Lone Wolf and Cub, in the case of Vampire Hunter D, that's another one. Actually, the I believe the writer of Vampire Hunter D actually was a graduate from that school that Koike set up, which is very interesting. Um, so I've always viewed that kind of thing as very 80s, possibly early 90s as well, and it's just something that I'd kind of like to see come back. There's definitely a great style to it, the idea of the wandering loner, um, just traveling about from place to place. And I really don't think there's any kind of series like that these days. Most series these days, in particular shonen, obviously not Alone from Cobb, Witcher, and Vampire D aren't shonen series. They're about friendship, and a lot of seinen series tend to be not about friendship, but not far from it. I kind of just want the kind of not obviously like a bunch of them. Obviously, I just think it'd be a nice thing to see again. The wandering loner. It's just something that seems to have fallen by the wayside. I don't know. I just kind of want to see more series like that. Vagabond, maybe. I've only read the first two omnibus. Sorry, I accidentally hit the mute button. So sorry. Anyway, Vagabond. Back to Vagabond. Um, I'm just checking that that is in fact. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Back to Vagabond. So my biggest issue with Vagabond is it still off? One sec. Uh, so I know there's a bit of a lag, so if there's like an issue like that, like a technical issue, can be a bit hard sometimes to tell if that's actually happened. I should be back now. I should be. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Great, great. Okay, great. In terms of Vagabond, my biggest issue with Vagabond, I know a lot of people will have an issue with the fact that I have an issue with Vagabond. I didn't hate Vagabond. I should point that out. I like the art style of it. I think there's a lot of very interesting aspects to Vagabond. But from the first two omnibuses, with what I read, my biggest issue was the fact that Miyamoto Musashi, who's the lead character of Vagabond, is such an animal. He goes to a dojo and starts beating the crap out of people just to prove that he's strong, and he doesn't back down at all. I mean, in comparison to say uh, Ogami Ito, who I mean, it wasn't often when he would have to back down, but he knew when to back down. He, in comparison, Miyamoto Musashi is so much more animalistic. It's just very hard for me to see to like him as a main character. Now, I've been told by Adam, Adam being Archangel Manga, that he changes later. Um, uh, One sec. Yo, Mr. Laser Shark. Yeah. That's what Adam was telling me. So I should probably go back to it at some point. It's just it's a bit hard to it's just a bit hard for me to like him at the beginning. But maybe it's a similar case to many other series where I've had a bit of an issue with it at the beginning, and then later on I'll come to really like it. I know Adam himself had a similar kind of reaction to Blade of the Immortal. Is that the Yeah, where he started reading it and he wasn't keen on it, but he kept going on, and suddenly he absolutely fell in love with it. So yeah, maybe I should go back to Vagabond at some point. It's just he as a character put me off at the beginning, but if he changes later, then I completely understand that, and I'll definitely I'll definitely keep a kind of a thought out on that. I just realized actually that I haven't actually shared this on Twitter. I know it's kind of a bit late now. Um, Happening right now. But yeah, I'll consider. And of course, Adam has been recommending me to try Blade of the Immortal. Um, Now, he said that he does have an issue with the way Dark Horse handled Blade of the Immortal. The fact that they rearrange certain panels and like reverse certain things, but overall, he absolutely loved it, and he's been recommending me to give it a go. So I definitely should try that. It's either Vagabond or that. But as I said, I have so much to catch up on. I have quite a backlog of manga. Um, I have obviously I said new Lone Wolf and Cub is something I kind of want to do after this. If I'm going to be honest, as much as Vagabond and Blade of the Immortal seem interesting, I'm probably going to prioritize new Lone Wolf and Cub, simply because I finished Lone Wolf and Cub and I'm kind of like I still want to see more Daigoro. So that's kind of just where I'm at the moment. But that won't be for a while anyway. So that's probably enough talking. Me talking about Lone Wolf and Cub. It kind of just veered off into Vagabond and all that other stuff. We should probably get to a kind of a Q&A section now. So if you guys have questions, feel free to ask. I'll probably answer Kaka's first because he was talking to me before about where was it now? He said, "How are you, man? I was so busy lately that my love for manga fell on second plan." And I'm gonna say that I'm doing well now. I handed up an assignment that I've been working on for ages to college, so like absolutely happy about that, as you can imagine. Great to get college assignments out of the way. In terms of manga, I did kind of fall by the wayside. I've mentioned this in several other videos. Um, Basically, from about September to December, I really didn't read much manga series, and that was because I was busy with college. I was trying to catch up on video games. I'd built up a kind of a backlog of video games, and also I wasn't in a very good place emotionally at the time. I was kind of very stressed and in many ways unhappy. I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life. I've kind of got more of a plan now for what I plan to do. Um, but it did take me a little bit of kind of soul searching to kind of figure all that out first. And that's kind of where I'm at. I'm eager to get back into several series now. I have a lot of yachts about to catch up on. I've gotten some more volumes of Ranma Half. I think I've gotten next three volumes of next three omnibuses of Ranma Half, and I'm pretty sure I'm just trying. I have Planet A's to read, the two omnibuses, which is fantastic. I'm looking forward to that. I love the anime. Um, so yeah, I have a lot to catch up on, and once I catch up on those, then I'll start picking up some more manga. No point in spending more since we'll release its sequel. One sec. I'll answer Sheik first. What am I studying? I've been studying digital marketing. Digital marketing is basically like how you market things online. You know, through like stuff like social media, through email marketing, um, through let me just think of the other e-tools. Sorry, I have to just keep recollect my thoughts. Uh, uh, um, Search engine optimization, SEO. That's another way to do it. I'm just trying to catch up because everyone's commenting now. All of a sudden, I'm not prepared. Um, but yeah, that's what I'm doing. It's part of what I was saying about trying to figure out what I want to do with my life. I've kind of figured out that digital marketing will be important for me, so that's why I've been looking into doing more of that. Elvis, you quite interest me with that question. Do you think that Dark Horse, since New Lone Wolf and Cub is done publishing, will release its sequel? There's a sequel to New Lone Wolf and Cub? This is the first I've heard of it. I've only heard of, obviously Dark Horse released Lone Wolf and Cub, and they've released New Lone Wolf and Cub. There's something after that? Uh, I'm surprised if that's the case. You'll need to give me more information on that. Um, Miss Shark KH, I've been kind of on and off reading manga too. Haven't really gravitated to one thing, just skirting around different series. Yeah, I can imagine. Um, it does feel a bit. It depends on your mental state, I guess. Um, by the way, Mr. Shark KH, you're probably the only guy I know who buys a lot of digital manga. You didn't happen to participate in the Humble Bundle to do with Tsutomu Nihei? Because I would have thought that kind of one would be right up your alley. If not, that's perfectly fine. Chic Abo, keeping up with any graphic novels? I've been trying to. It's just the pricing of graphic novels has always put me off. I can't remember exactly when it was last year. I think I read the first three volumes of Saga, and I was quite impressed with it. I really enjoyed it. I didn't quite think it was the masterpiece that everyone was making it out to be, but I still found it very enjoyable. So I want to pick up more of that. I guess a good way to say is that if most people think it's a 10, I kind of think it's a 9, which it really isn't that much of a difference. I still really like Saga. I think it's really good from what I've read. I just need to pick up more books of that. Besides that, I'm very excited about the upcoming Korra comics, the Legend of Korra comics, because that was a show that I felt really sad after I finished it because I was thinking to myself, God, there's no more Korra. And now I've learned that there is an upcoming graphic novel continuation with Legend of Korra, so I'm very excited about that. Besides that, I'm not really sure what else. I know I still have From Hell to read. The graphic novel by Alan Moore about Jack the Ripper. I have to read that, and I think I have a couple other stuff. But I do need to kind of catch up on that. I have several things to catch up, as I said. Like I mean, I've just gotten a couple of Witcher books as well, so I need to catch up on those. On my last semester of okay, so Kaka says I'm on my last semester of my bachelor's degree, so I cannot read as much manga as I would like to. Well, definitely get your bachelor's degree. I mean, that'll help. If nothing else, it'll help you get more money to actually be able to buy more manga. But that's great. I'm very glad that you're on your last semester, and hopefully you'll do very well in all those upcoming exams that I'm sure you have or assignments. Elvis, could you do me a favor? Could you like send me a link to like if there's a Mal page or a Wikipedia page for that series after New Lone Wolf and Cub? I'm just very curious to kind of hear about it because this is the first I've heard about it. Anyway, Fuji. Have I gotten the new Ghost in the Shell editions? No, I want to. I want to, but I just haven't gotten around to it. As I said, um, could like as I said, I have so much backlog to catch up on. But Ghost in the Shell is something that I do want to get into, the manga wise. I've watched a lot of its anime incarnations. Obviously, I've seen the movies. Well, the first two, I should say. I've seen Standalone Complex, both seasons, and the movie to do with that. I haven't seen Arise, and I haven't seen the live action movie. I hear the live action movie isn't really meant to be that good, although it is doing very good marketing for the franchise as a whole. Um, so I do want to kind of check out the manga where it all began. I do hear it's very different stylistically to the anime. The anime tends to be a lot more serious, whereas the manga I hear is a lot goofier. I remember Adam in particular, he was reading the Ghost in the Shell manga, and he showed me a picture of the Major where she was doing, yeah, he's just sticking their tongue out and holding her heart his cheek. And it was just very hard to imagine that that's the Major. What a face! I just see my face making that face with the tongue. Hilarious. Um, but yeah, I definitely want to pick up the Ghost in the Shell manga at some point. No problem, Kaka. Yeah, I want to see like Elvis brings up here. When do you think that Rose of Versailles will get published? Yeah, yeah. I'm really wondering when that'll happen. Every so often, I check Book Depository to see if there's a listing for Rose of Versailles, etc. etc. And I'm I don't know, like that's one of the manga that I remember on my Ask FM. I made a list of manga series that I'd love to see translated into English, and Rose of Versailles was on there for top 10. So I was really happy when Udon Entertainment announced that they gotten the license to it. But as far as I'm aware, no one's made any announcement, like when it'll be released, um, what type of omnibuses. Like I think that I remember hearing them say that they they were going to do them in omnibus releases. I think maybe like two in ones. But I haven't heard anything about it since then. So if I'm concerned. Like, are they actually going to end up releasing it? I don't know. I'll just have to see. I want to get the Nihei Humble Bundle, but it just didn't fall on the right time. Yeah, I can imagine. It is quite often, all you have to kind of invest money in other stuff, and sometimes it just doesn't work out well. I was very happy to see that Nihei Humble Bundle actually ended up working, um, like very well for Kodansha. Was it Kodansha? Yeah, who were the publisher? I think it was Kodansha who publishes Nihei stuff, right? Not in America, obviously. I'm talking about like the original distributor in Japan. I'm not sure. I know in terms of Blame and in terms of Knights of Sidonia, which were the two main things from that, they are published by Vertical, I believe. But Vertical are also partially owned by Kodansha, so they also have the rights to certain Kodansha series. Um, got OG GITS movie on Blu-ray finally. OG. One sec, I have to think about OG for a sec. I'm sorry. You'll have to clarify me on OG, GITS, like Ghost in the Shell, obviously, but I'm not sure which one OG is. Yeah, I'll be interested to hear your thoughts on the Ghost in the Shell live action movie. I mean, there's some people who like it, obviously, and then there's some people who really don't like it. Original. Ah, okay, okay, okay. Have you not seen Have you not seen the original Ghost in the Shell movie, Laser KH? Wow. Well, you'll have a hell of an experience before you. The problem with that maybe is that maybe you might have like extremely high expectations because everyone's always going on about it. Just go in expecting an enjoyable movie. Just go in with that kind of mindset, and you should really like it. My thoughts on the Ghost in the Shell movie. Obviously, Chic. I haven't seen it. Well, I shouldn't say. Well, okay. Obviously, since when I made that video, it hadn't actually come out yet. Um, but that video is more of a case of just talking about what its potential impact, about the fact that there's more marketing going into the Ghost in the Shell franchise than any other point in history. and obviously a lot of the Ghost in the Shell series are selling extremely well on Amazon, and as far as I can tell, the manga is selling pretty well as well. So I'm just kind of discussing in that video whether it's kind of a flash in the pan or if it's kind of going to be something more long term. I also bring up the upcoming Death Note movie, the Netflix one, because a lot of people are freaking out about the trailer for that. Freaking out as in, whitewashing and all that. You post a link and it gets insta removed. Interesting. One sec. Let me just take a look at the settings. See if it says to automatically block spam messages. I'll just untake that. You try posting the link again. Sorry about that. I didn't even look at the settings for the live chat. Yeah, as I talk, Kadanch, yeah, makes sense that they'd be the ones publishing most of the stuff digitally. I do remember seeing them listed there as a publisher. Oh, you've seen the movie, Laser Shark Cage. Um, okay, cool. So you just want to get a copy of it. Well, you definitely should. I mean, Ghost in the Shell is definitely a landmark title, and even if you're not keen on it, it's still worth having in a collection. It just helps that it's a really, really good movie as well. Um, no more questions at this point. Um, if I might just talk a little bit, and if there's like kind of no more questions, rather than trying to stretch things out, I'll kind of call it quits. There's potentially 20 minutes left, but I don't want it to be 20 minutes of just crap. Still gets removed. Weird. Very weird. Okay. So at least I got the title. One sec. Let me. I'm actually just curious now. I'm gonna look it up. That I should probably be talking while this is happening. Thoughts on Death Note All in One and Akira 35th box set releases. Okay, so in terms of that Death Note All in One, it's disgusting. That's my personal opinion. It looks like the spine will break like easily, which looks like a disaster to me. Uh, I don't know. Like I'm definitely as someone who owns it already, obviously the whole series. Like I personally don't want. I personally um, don't need it. And even so, I really think there's probably better ways to get Death Note than that all-in-one omnibus. I mean, most people seem to agree that the black editions tend to be the best releases of that series. I actually don't have the black editions. I got the box, like the full manga box set, which has the original Tonkabons. I do kind of wish I got the black editions. Maybe I will get them at some point. But I've heard personally that that's the best way to do it, unless Viz, in an attempt to get that version selling, stops releases of Black Edition, which I'd be very surprised. I'd personally, I recommend if you're going to pick up the Death Note manga, pick up the Black Editions. In terms of the Akira 35th box set, it's definitely tempting. I mean, I haven't picked up Akira yet, and that's a manga that I want to pick up at some point. Um, it's God, there's so many questions coming. I guess when I mentioned that this might end if I don't get more questions, I guess that was a call to action, as they say. Anyway, so 35th box set. It's tempting. If I'm correct, they're hardcovers, right? And they're in the original like orientation. Like usually the Akira releases have always been in left to right. They've been flopped. But I believe this release is going to be the first time they're going to be right to left, like the original Japanese release. So that's definitely good. It's just I'm not exactly sure. Like it still seems like a lot of money. I'll take a look at it closer to the time and see how I'm doing money wise, because obviously, as you said before, with the humble bundle, the Tsutomu Nihei humble bundle, it's all about timing, isn't it? In terms of what you have to pay and whether you have enough left over to be able to afford this other stuff. I'm just looking up the The Kozuru Okame Shikaku no Ko. God, it is a sequel. Wow. I have no idea. To answer your question on, first of all, that's the first time I've ever heard of it. Amazing. Never heard of it before. And I just want to say, like, I have no idea if Dark Horse will do that. I'd be surprised if they're not going to do that, because I mean, Lone Wolf and Cub has always been a big series for them. I guess it all depends on how well new Lone Wolf and Cub sold, right? Because we know that the original releases of of Lone Wolf and Cub sold incredibly well. But as far as I'm aware, we haven't heard any sales figures on new Lone Wolf and Cub, how that's performed. So assuming that it did well, I really don't see why they wouldn't be able to do that. If it sold badly, it'd probably be a risk, and they probably wouldn't want to take that risk. Um, I don't know. That's the first time I've ever heard of it, and it's interesting. I'll definitely be keeping an ear out now for any license announcements from Dark Horse concerning that series. Showa manga. Um, when you say Showa, you make me think of the Shigeru Mizuki series, but that doesn't seem to be the one you're talking about because you mentioned Descending Stories. Um, I'm not exactly sure which one that is. Let me just look that up quickly. Showa manga. Oh, yeah, yeah. I think they've made an anime of that, right? The Showa stuff. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, Kodansha has apparently picked it up. I don't know if they're releasing it physically. I noticed Kodansha has been doing progressively more and more like digital releases, so I'm not sure. I mean, the art looks interesting. I like the look of the art, um, but um, but I don't really know anything about the actual story. I just know that people seem to like it, and as I just noticed there, it's a Jose series, and as I always say, I think Jose is an underrepresented demographic in America, and well, in the West, I should say. So it's always great to see more manga, the Jose titles getting released. So that's cool. I didn't even know that was coming out in English. I'd heard of the anime, but hadn't heard anything about the manga. I'm just gonna look up Book Depository for that now. Um, After that, let me just see what else. Have I started Goodnight Pun Pun? No, I haven't yet. I want to, obviously, but as I said, I'm prioritizing a couple of other stuff. Um, I'm gonna. I want to read the Ranma half. I have the Yotsuba. I have the Planet A's because I have the full series and it's relatively short. I have some other priorities. I definitely do intend to get around to Goodnight Pun Pun, obviously. But that's a bit low on the priorities list. Even though I have the first omnibus, it might take me a while to actually get around to it. But I will get around to it definitely. Don't worry about that. After that, let me see. It's absolutely great. Thoughts on Attack on Titan second season? Haven't seen it. Ben, BDT87, he posted a poll the other day on Twitter, and like the options were that you're gonna watch it, that you're gonna wait for the English dub, that you're not gonna watch it, etc., etc. And I voted that I'm gonna wait for the English dub because that's how I watched the first season of Attack on Titan, and that'll be how I'll watch the second season. Speaking of Attack on Titan, that's actually another priority I need to get around to. I have volumes 16 to 20 of Attack on Titan that I also need to get to. I'll I've heard mixed things about it, about those volumes, but I'll get around to it and I'll see, what I think of it. I definitely do want get. I definitely do want to get around to it. Did I get Otherworld Barbara? I want to. The only thing that put me off is how long it was going to take for the second volume to actually come out. But if I'm correct, that's coming out this year, isn't it? Yeah, the 17th of August. So definitely cool. The pricing is quite expensive, but I mean, it comes from Fantagraphics, who are always a bit pricey. And considering it's from the 49ers, the Year 24 group, I definitely do think that it's probably worth picking up. Um, anyway, Want to watch season one again before starting season two of Titan. Yeah, I mean, could definitely work. August. Yep, I agree with that. That's what Book Depository says. So unless there's any delays, yeah, I agree with that, Elvis. The price is off-putting. I'm just gonna have to kind of bite my teeth. Well, not bite my teeth. Gnash. What did they say? What's the phrase again? For you bite something, just means that you grin and bear it, etc. I don't know. I definitely do want to pick it up anyway. I want to see more 49er stuff get released in English. And the only way they're going to do that is if they're supported. So, and plus, I'm interested in Otherworld Barber anyway. I've seen some of its artwork and reviews, and it looks really good. Watched a recap movie instead of rewatching season one. Um, Recap movies. I know there were recap movies. Have they come out in English? I guess that makes sense. Like, I mean, why wouldn't they come out in English? It's so popular. Um, I I don't know. Like, I guess yeah, the recap movies could work very well. I guess if you wanna kind of catch up, if you wanna kind of just remind yourself what happened in season one. I don't know how to get it though. So I'll just have to see. I've read the manga. I've seen the anime, so I have the first kind of season of it very firmly ingrained in my head. So I'm not really concerned about not remembering what's happening. Yoshihiro Tatsumi is working on a second part of the Drifting Life. Uh, I that's the first I've heard of it. Considering he passed away, though, it might be an unfinished work, and I don't know if that'll get published. I'm just looking up him now. Yoshihiro Tatsumi. I mean, it would. I guess it kind of makes sense that he'd do a second part of a Drifting Life. Um, I'm just looking it up now to see if there's any mention of it. Where? Well, okay. Apparently, links don't work in this live chat. So I don't know. Could you tweet me a link to where you found out that there was a second part of coming, like being made? Um, I'm just curious if I'd like to check out the article and see what information's stored there. But I haven't heard anything about it. This is the first I've heard of it. That was a really good read, Adrift in Life. Um, I can see Elvis there getting all excited. It's probably going to be unfinished now. It's unfortunate. In terms of unfinished manga because of authors' deaths, I really haven't experienced too much of it. The biggest one, obviously, my favorite manga of all time is With the Light Raising an Autistic Child, and obviously, it it got it got I guess you couldn't really call it unfinished because she worked in the hospital on it when she was like sick in hospital. She kept working on it, and you can actually, if you get the last omnibus of With the Light, it actually contains the storyboards that she did. Um, the storyboard she did for those final chapters, so you can actually read the whole thing. Now it is rushed. The ending's rushed, unfortunately, but it was either that or leave it unfinished, which is a shame. And that doesn't take away from the fact that that is a fantastic series. Um, no, it wasn't finished by someone. She herself made the storyboards, and the storyboards are contained in the releases. And you can kind of finish off the story like that. The art obviously is just storyboard art, so it doesn't look particularly great. Um, but you do at least get some sort of completion, even if it does seem particularly rushed. Particularly since the last chapter to actually get proper artwork introduced an important new character. So to then try to finish it right after is it's a shame. But obviously, what else was she gonna do? I'm just thankful that she managed to be able to create such a fantastic series. They showed a chapter of it in the 25th anniversary of Drawing Quarterly. Was that a like a collection? Um, I've no like I think I remember hearing that they had a 25th anniversary, but I can't remember them like releasing like a particular like book for it. Yeah, they have to be redrawn before they generally get published, but obviously she wasn't around to redraw them, so they just published them as they were. Yeah, I agree, Elvis. It's better than it getting cut off. Um, usually like a rushed ending would be a big issue for me, but it's a since obviously she was dying at the time, like I really am not going to hold any fault against her. And it really doesn't take away from how great the rest of the series is. A collection of works from several of their authors. Okay. I don't assume, was that like a limited release thing, or was that like a kind of a is that something like you could get like on Amazon or something? The 25th anniversary drawn quarterly book. I don't know. I don't know anything about it. That's one of the great things about these live streams. Like I always learn so much of stuff that I haven't heard of up to that point. Drawn in quarterly. One second, I'm just putting in 25th drawn in quarterly. Uh, is this it? This might be the one. Yeah, this is the title of it is Drawn in Quarterly: 25 Years of Contemporary Cartooning, Comics, and Graphic Novels. Is that what it's contained in? I would assume. It's kind of expensive, but it's a hardback and it's almost 800 pages. Okay, that's not bad pricing then. Um, yeah, I should take a look into that. Obviously, it'll be a collection of cartooning, comics, and manga and all that jazz. But I honestly don't mind that. I'm assuming it's short stories, or is it like actual excerpts from like ongoing stories? Because if it's excerpts, that would be off-putting. But if it's like a short story collection, I'd be quite interested in it. In terms of Vinland Saga, yeah, that's something I haven't gotten back to yet. I remember reading the first omnibus of it and thinking it was decent, that it was an interesting read. It didn't grab me, but most people said that it's generally like volumes 2 or 3 or something that grabs them. Particularly since the omnibus I read was back when it was a shonen. I think volume 2 and onwards, Vinland Saga becomes a seinen, doesn't it? So that's quite interesting. Again, priorities. Um, I mean, I do have it. Like I still see it, and of course that's a constant reminder of that. That volume one's constantly reminding me. Yeah, I need to pick up more of it at some point. But um, as I said, backlog. I got to work on that. Um, current arc of Vinland Saga feels like a shonen. Um, current arc. What's the current arc? Is that Vinland Saga? Is that like volume 8? Of the doubles. I guess that would be like 15 and 16 or something like that. Is that what you're talking about? I don't know. No, I'm just happy for people that they managed to succeed with Vinland Saga. The fact that there was a risk that Vinland Saga might not get released anymore in English, and people kind of rallied together and were able to impress Kodansha enough that they decided to keep going with it. I don't know. I'm just happy that they like. Obviously, a lot of people love it, and I'm happy that they can get to read it. I'll try to get back to it eventually, but as I said, priorities. Um, if he means the scans, well, I don't read scans. I'm opposed to them. That's just a fact. So I'm certainly the wrong person to be talking about like current series if there's no like simul publishing release of it. Um, but considering that I think Vinland Saga is published by Kodansha, right? And I believe Crunchyroll publishes a lot of Kodansha series like simultaneously. I was thinking maybe there was the possibility that Vinland Saga was published there. I don't know. Battle Angel Alicia, I'll be surprised if it doesn't. I mean, the question here is, do you think it'll get reprinted? And yeah, I think yeah, if it's got anything like the Ghost in the Shell thing, where Ghost in the Shell caused like basically a re-release of everything Ghost in the Shell, then I'd honestly be very shocked if Battle Angel Alita didn't get a reprint. Um, I'd be very surprised. Of course, who knows if that'll actually go true? Isn't James Cameron gonna do like Avatar 2, 3, and 4 before he's even gonna touch Battle Angel Alita? I mean, who knows how long that'll be? Um, yeah, I'm assuming the first series is what we're talking about, maybe. I honestly don't know what the difference is between the first series of Battle Angel Alita and the other one. Is it Lost Order or Last Order? I don't know what the difference is between them. Is it a sequel or is it a remake? Like sometimes it sounds like it's a sequel and sometimes it sounds like it's a remake. I have no idea. But I do. I think I have the first volume of Battle Angel Alita. I think I found it used. I remember reading it and think it was very interesting. I like the art. The Last Order sequel. It's a sequel. Okay, okay, yeah. So obviously, then you'd want to read the first series first before moving on to that. I know Last Order is readily available. I believe you can get them in omnibuses. But in terms of the first series, no chance. I remember seeing it going for obscene prices because of how out of print it was, which is a shame. But that's what happens with out of print manga. I mean, there's so many out of print series I'd love to see reprints of. Like for example, Phoenix by Osamu Tezuka. Obviously, I'd love to see that get reprinted. What else? Like Meison Ikoku. The Seinen series that Rumiko Takahashi did, and the series that most people seem to like. Even people who don't generally seem to like her works tend to like Meison Ikoku. Um, so I'd love to see like re-release all that, but it's always about money, isn't it? It's about whether those will actually sell and make money. It's always a risk. Anyway, so about an hour has passed. I think I'm going to start wrapping things up here. It was a good stream. I was able to kind of just get my thoughts out there on Lone Wolf and Cub, and it's been interesting talking through these comments. I've been learning a lot. Like that was the first time I'd heard that there was a sequel to New Lone Wolf and Cub, and it was the first time I'd heard that where was it that there was supposedly a second part of A Drifting Life that Yoshihiro Tatsumi was working on. Um, yeah, it's always fascinating whenever I do these the amount of information I get. Billy Bat, that's a Naoki Usawa series, right? I don't know if that's in English, but they're doing re-releases of a lot of his stuff now. Like they re-released Monster. They're releasing Master Keaton, right? So maybe eventually they will get around to Billy Bat. I don't know. But anyway, I think that should be it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Hopefully you guys found this entertaining and informative. Luckily, this wasn't as much of a disaster from a technical perspective as last time. So that's great. And I'm glad that everyone seemed to enjoy this. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and bye bye.